very, very advanced from what we have today. So my question is, what I liked a little bit less was the plot and the fact that humans, after all this advancement, just feel the need to go and bang their chest, I'm greater than you, I want to conquer you. So do you think we don't have the ability to get over this even after all the...
Well, the problem is, at the moment, Gardens of the Sun hasn't yet been translated into when it is, that will answer your question.
Coming, yeah.
Part of the thing is to show it. I realise the novel is from the viewpoint of people from Earth, even though the important difference are the people living on the moons. There are no viewpoint characters of the people living on the moons, all the people from Earth. One reason for that was because I wanted to show it from the outside. It's easier to show a strange society from the outside because when you're living in a strange society, it's not strange to you because that's your society, right? So that's one reason why we have these primitive chest-banging monkeys going on and stumbling into this rather much nicer scenario. The other is that it was always conceived as two books. It's a trilogy with the middle book missing. This is how I write trilogies now. I only write the beginning, the first volume and the last volume. I miss out that annoying middle volume where the story has to advance without doing very much, basically, or changing very much. So in the first book, it's the build-up to the war. In the second book, it's about what happens in the aftermath, in a sense, it's the story of America having gained Iraq, what they do next. Well, they didn't have any idea what to do next. And in the Quiet War, in the Gardens of the Sun, it's slightly different. But it follows the characters through more changes and shows how, having gone out there, that has changes back on Earth as well. So there is a strong strain of active pacifism in there as well. We're very interested in that kind of resistance from Gandhi through South Africa, through the American civil rights in the 60s and so on, that kind of thing. Which I think, and again, I was saying I was watching last night on Twitter, these photographs, these marches in New York. Again, it's the same kind of thing. You're aware of the political situation that's caused this. Is basically that if you're black in America, you can be shot down by American police, and the American police, whether the person who shoots you will get away scot-free. There's no comeback, even if you're innocent. A lot of these people are, most of them are. So there are marches against that now because it's reached a point where it's become ridiculous, and it's quite clear that the system is broken. So it's a new civil rights thing is gained, and it's the same. It's interesting that it's the same tactics are being used because they're very strong tactics, and they did have an effect. The civil rights movement in America did have an effect. It obviously isn't complete, so they're doing it again. And they had one of the photographs I saw was two women about in their 60s and 70s who marched in Selma, Alabama, which is a very famous racist place, and one of the tipping points of changes. And they were marching in New York, white, marching in New York, the same thing. Very powerful photograph. So yeah, it's an ongoing struggle, and so I'm using that Garden of the Sun. So thank you for the question. So nice to hear. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I have a question for Mr. Morgan. From my point of view, I don't know if you can corroborate this, but it seems like all of your works for now seem to take place in the same universe. I don't know if you can confirm this or not.
No, they don't, because Market Forces is a completely different.
Right.
No, I mean, what happens is that I occasionally have ideas, and they tend very often to be linguistic ideas rather than science fiction ideas. I like the sound of a certain word. So, for example, the Nemex, which is this, I invented this gun called the Nemesis 10, and when you write it down, it's Nemesis with a big X on it. And it's like, yeah, well, no one's going to call it that, so it becomes the Nemex. And it's just a really cool idea, a really cool name for a gun. So when I wrote Market Forces, in fact, to be honest with you, I invented it for the screenplay of Market Forces, which I wrote before any of the other books. When I started writing onto Carbon, I put it in there as well. And then when I went back and novelised the screenplay of Market Forces, I was thinking, should I take this out? And I think, no, the hell, it's such a cool name, I'm going to keep it in. But there is no relation, they're not in any way the same world, the same universe. Black man also is not. I would love Black man to be part of the same continuity line as the Kovacs book, but unfortunately the chronology won't work because I envisaged. I was really stupid, really stupid. This is again, this is the flip side of what I was saying earlier. This is where writing without a plan will get you in trouble. I wrote a piece of dialogue in the early stages of Auto Carbon, where the guy says, I think it's in the letter that he writes, he says, "You will wonder why I have called you across 200 light years to blah, blah, blah." And then, later, I was thinking, ah shit, I don't know how fast the light drives in this story. So these ships have got to have gone all the way there, and then they've had to develop a colonial society. And shit, I'm talking about centuries and centuries. And of course, it was stupid because I could have just gone back and changed the dialogue. There you go. I wonder why I brought you across 10 light years. That's still quite a long way, you know. But because of that, I was forced to basically have this idea that of the colonisation happening between more or less now and say about 2400, something like that. And then the societies evolve after that, and you've got another 100, maybe 200 years of colonial society evolving. Black man won't work because the Black man stuff would have had to have happened in about 1927 in order for it to fit into the Kovacs chronology. So Black man, that's another universe. So that's not true. The really vexed question comes with the fantasy. I needed some gods in this fantasy trilogy, and I really couldn't be asked to make up the names. So I took some names from the science fiction books, and I just kind of fiddled with them and twisted them and bent them a little bit, and then used those. And everyone went, "Oh, look, these are the same, these are those characters." And I thought, that's quite a cool idea. Wish I'd thought of that. And so I kind of played with it, but I never committed to it. And the thing about fantasy, which I keep saying to people, is the point about fantasy is you do not have to justify yourself, right? In science fiction, there is the sense that there's a rational explanation for things. In fantasy, there isn't. So people asking me about the helmsman in Still Remains. Oh, they're artificial intelligences, and are they? And someone said to me, "Well, are they? You know, are they artificial intelligences or are they demons?" And I honestly don't know, because I just went, "Look, that's what they are. That's what they look like. This is how they present. If you deal with them, this is what you will experience." I don't know what that is, and I never bothered to find out. I haven't nailed it down. And similarly with this idea of the Kovacs characters becoming gods in this other world, I never bothered to be sure. I don't know. So because there are a lot, let's face it, there are a lot of fantasy readers who've never read the Kovacs books.
Right.
So for them, those names mean nothing. So you have to see it as detached. You know, I would love again to be able to say, yeah, it's the same timeline, and you've got to buy all my books in order to have a complete experience.
Well, it works.
Yeah. But hand on heart, I can't because I honestly don't know. You know, I think it's something that a lot of people, especially I think in the fantasy readership, that people don't understand about creating fiction. Your fiction is always fuzzy. You create what you need to tell the story. And in the case of some fantasy writers, you create this kind of map universe around it. But there will always be stuff you didn't create. You know, there will always be borders you don't go beyond, or there'll just be details that you don't get to examine. And there is so much in my fantasy books that I don't know. I put it in because it's like, that's really cool. I love that. You know, what is it? I don't know. You know, do you like it? Yeah, good. Well, that's So I guess the answer is no, not really. But if you want to believe that Still Remains takes place a very long time after the Kovacs books, fair enough. That's fine. I don't mind. But you're talking several 100,000 years. If it is, it's a very, very, very long time. But I'm not sure if it is.
Well, you still have 2 books to explore the time between.
Yes, well, that's what someone said. Oh, it's brilliant. Now he can write a trilogy in the middle. I could. There's work for more than one writer there.
We will have to stop now, unfortunately. Thank you very much again for being with us and being so generous in talking about your work and yourselves.
Thank you very much.
With us.
No, thanks for coming. It's been like lovely audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.